Let's begin today's Vanguard news with actually seeing cards played in the anime once again after weeks of nothing but buddy fight collab. Alfinis Vato Bogdi is a normal order card that can be played from the drop zone, but can only be played if you have a Veissrugr Vanguard and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher. To bind this card, then give your Vanguard a continuous ability that gives all your Mythisch cards 5k power. Here we go again with the dev team making order cards that can be played from the drop zone, thus making discard or idline cost virtually non-existent. Every set Vanguard gets nearer to becoming Yu-Gi-Oh levels of power creep. The only thing balancing this card is it doesn't give you any form of card advantage and requires the opponent to be at grade 3, thus making this more preferred if you're going second. The third Mythisch Heliastvina Helgvar, when placed on rear guard, that is, during the battle phase, lets you perform 2 effects. If you revealed a grade 3 Veissrugr card from your eye deck, or have a grade 3 or higher Veissrugr Vanguard, then either add up to 1 Veissrugr card or Lunarite card from the top 5 cards of your deck, or pay 3 energy if you Persona Road this turn to add up to 1 Lunarite card from your deck. And while on rear guard, you can put her into your soul at the end of the battle she boosted, and you have a grade 3 or higher Veissrugr Vanguard to countercharge 1 damage. This card probably would have made Veissrugr tier 1 if they released it on the deck's debut, but even then that battle phase restriction would have made this card hard to use regardless. They should have just slapped a cost for her first option ability instead, to make her usable during the battle phase. And despite the anime hyping them up last season, they feel so unremarkable that it took me 3 sets to realize this entire deck's shtick is to just flood the field like Be Heroes, but worse, as they require normal orders to get a huge power increase. So it's no wonder Ka gets lost this early in the season to a deck with only 1 wave of support. Speaking of which, one who arrived at Paradise Lucent is your typical D-series starter that's making me want to turn on the fly zapper. One who arrived at Paradise Yotl when ridden upon by one who arrived at Paradise Noctoran makes you call itself to rear guard and soul charge 1 card. And while on rear guard, it gets 5k power if your world is Stray Garden. You heard right, this deck will be using the world mechanic like Orphist. And this card in particular is like a Forerunner starter but mandatory, so I hope you like soul charging your over trigger or key units. One who arrived at Paradise Noctoran when ridden upon a grade 3 Nannaclir lets you call itself to rear guard. Then put up to 1 card from your drop zone into your soul. If you called a card with this ability, draw a card instead. If you did not call a card with this ability, and while on rear guard, it gets the boost ability and 5k power if your world is Stray Garden. This card will ensure you to always gain some card advantage. A definite improvement over the grade 1 ride line. I would even recommend replacing Yotl with the grade 1 Raw or War instead, if it wasn't mandatory, as you will see in a bit. One who guides towards Paradise Nannaclir while on Vanguard during your turn makes your world become Stray Garden and gets triple drive if you have 3 or more rear guards with one who arrived at Paradise in their names. Once per turn while on Vanguard, you can pay 3 energy to either call up to 1 unit card or add up to 1 Bloomin' Paradise Seed Mile Field from the top 5 cards of your deck. Then give 5k to the unit called with this ability if it has one who arrived at Paradise in its name. And while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast when she attacks to stand one of your rear guards. You people have no idea how much I'm laughing when I was reading this card, as it explains why Ruka was snuck in the top 8 at the last minute. This deck wouldn't have survived if Ruka faced off against Veissrugr or Veissrugr. Hell, Blankmire and Artisaria would also have controlled the shit out of her field. This is like playing a slightly better OG Dual Knights, where you need to maintain 3 Dual Knight rear guards just to get their abilities working. A Bloomin' Paradise Seed Mile Field is a normal order card that can only be played if you have a Nannaclir Vanguard to either call a card with one who arrived at Paradise in their name from your drop zone, or give one of your rear guard with one who arrived at Paradise in their name a once per turn auto ability that gets an extra critical when it stands, and your world is Stray Garden as well as 5k power, and you can reveal this card from hand when it was put into your hand by your Paradise card's effect to draw a card. So this card basically turns one of your one who arrived at Paradise rear guards into obscured, but with extra steps. Ironic that the one order card that would have benefited from being able to be played from the drop zone. Speaking of which, One who arrived at Paradise Fury Lettuce while on rear guard lets you retire itself to give her a bloomin' Paradise Seed Minefield in your drop zone, a continuous ability that lets you play it from the drop zone but gets put to the bottom of your deck afterwards. And once per turn, while on the back row rear guard, stand this unit when your unit in the same column as this card stands by a card's effect and your world is Stray Garden. This could have just been built into the order card itself, but at least this is a standing booster to compensate for the extra effort. One who arrived at Paradise Veissrugr while on rear guard or the Guardian Circle gets 5k power. If you have a grade 3 or higher Nannaclir Vanguard and your world is Stray Garden, then this unit gets 5k shields. If you have a grade 3 or higher Nannaclir Vanguard, but your world is not Stray Garden, and while on rear guard, you can put itself into your soul at the end of your turn and your world is Stray Garden to draw a card. Veissrugr must have been sick and tired of Inlet Pulse Dragon being used in every Stoicheia deck, that they just straight up gave Nannaclir her own in-house version. There's an analogy of how they keep reusing in-house music like Bang Dream for Vanguard's openings and endings in here somewhere. Finally, one who arrived at Paradise leaves Feathered Dragon when placed on rear guard that isn't on the battle phase lets you pay 1 counter blast to either call up to 1 card with a grade equal or lower than your Vanguard, or add up to 1 a bloomin' Paradise Seed Minefield from the top 3 cards of your deck. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck instead, if your world is Stray Garden. And while on rear guard, you can pay 1 Soul Blast when it attacks, and your world is Stray Garden, to give this unit 10k power. As a refresher, Nannaclir is indeed a 4 attack deck that requires 3 specific rear guards in order to get anything working. I would even as to go and say that Flagberg is possibly better than this deck in its current state. This card contradicts itself by needing to be in Stray Garden state in order to have a better chance of being in Stray Garden state. For now, this card is a deck's best target for Nannaclir and Seed Milefield's effects. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if Stray Garden should have been a set order mechanic instead.